Welcome back to Alpine Garage Sports, folks. My name is Chris. I am your host for this show. We talk about the CU Buffs news, and today is no different. We have three good stories for you. The first one, we had a great game against ASU, and our hero came out of that. Alejandro Mata not only was celebrated by his team, but also celebrated by Coach Prime. We're going to bring you that story. Second, we're going to be talking about, let's call it the receiver lottery that's going on at Colorado. It seems like every game we have another receiver step up from the reserve ranks and take over a game, and this one is no different. Who was that player and who is next? Who's going to be the next player in the Colorado receiver lottery? Third, man, those unis that we had against ASU, hot and cold. Some people loved them, some people didn't. I personally loved them. That chrome gold face mask with the gloss black helmets was total fire, and I want to see it again, but I think we can do something different for home games and still incorporate that. I'm going to tell you what, and also get your feedback on the unis for this last game. That and more from this episode of Alpine Garage Sports. So that ASU game, if you were able to watch that on the Pac-12 network, on whatever it is that you could find it on, we did a live stream during that game, and I had tons of people in the comments said they couldn't get it in the state where they were at. And I apologize for that, because for the first time this year, you've seen what Colorado's gone through the last few years, especially with not being able to get the away games very easily. But hopefully you didn't miss the game-winning field goal from Alejandro Mata. Now, he has been a big part of this team now for the last 9 months, came over here as Coach Prime's kicker from JSU, and you know that connection that they have is like at another level. They have a connection that you don't see between a lot of head coaches and kickers. And in this particular case, Alejandro Mata, who was one of the leaders in the locker room at JSU, came here and was well received here as well. But we have been lucky enough to have two awesome kickers in our kicking quiver, one of them being Jace Feely, and there was competition there. So we really didn't get to see Alejandro Mata a whole lot until this game. And he came out and he showed out in a clutch kick where he was iced. He actually kicked it, made the field goal, but he was iced. ASU called a timeout. He had to go back and kick it again. And the second one was as good or better than the first one. And he made both of them just cool as ice. Walking off the field like, hey, you know what? I just kicked a good field goal for you, Coach. And Coach said, no, I ain't having that. You're going back out on the field and you're getting your flowers. Go out there and celebrate, have a good time, show off, because you did something great for the University of Colorado. We needed you in a pinch, and you came through. And Alejandro went out there, and he did his Alejandro Mata dance, and it looked really good. It looked like he was having fun. The entire team loved it. Coach came back out, gave him a giant hug, and then the rest of the team celebrated him. And after they went to the locker room, they also doused him down. He got that old Gatorade kick going on in the locker rooms, which is awesome to see. That's what these games, when you're not blowing teams out and you win by a field goal or you win by a last-minute touchdown, that's the passion that we feel. And in this particular case, Alejandro and the rest of the team saw that, which makes it a fantastic win. So we wanted to say congratulations, Alejandro. We're glad that we got to see you come in and kick a last-minute field goal and really secure yourself in Colorado lore. And you will receive your flowers this week. Second up, the receiver lottery. So we have been blessed here at CU for the fact that you may not have known it, but Shedeur Sanders went over 2,000 yards passing at the ASU game. So now we have a 2,000-yard passer in our midst. Still, I think, is a candidate for the Heisman, but he's had to do it with a carousel of receivers, because we know Travis Hunter, who was one of our top receivers, went out. We have Jimmy Horn, who has been a consistent dude, the most consistent receiver that we've had from game 1 to game 6. But in between that, you've had players that have popped up to be number 1 in the receiving ranks. And I'm going to go through those for you right now, just to kind of show you what that looks like. So do you remember who the number 1 receiver was at TCU? Anyone? It was actually not a receiver, it was a running back. It was Dylan Edwards with 135 yards. And then next up, everyone remembers this, because this is where that carousel starts to turn. Out of nowhere, Xavier Weaver, who we knew was a great receiver, came up and showed out with 170 yards against Nebraska and helped carry us to a win. Not only was that his coming out party, but he also carried it for the next 2 weeks. He showed up at CSU as our top wide receiver, and then he showed up at Oregon as our top wide receiver, 95 yards and 70 yards respectively in those games as our number 1 receiver. So Weaver cemented as one of our number 1 receivers. Then the carousel turns again. We get to USC. And out of nowhere again, Omarion Miller shows up and puts 198 yards, which is, by the way, the best single performance all year of any receiver in a single game with 198 yards. And then afterwards, Coach Prime came out and said, where'd this guy come from in practice? He hasn't shown up, and he put him in a game, and all of a sudden he tests well, and he goes out there and he balls, and the guy was an absolute on-fire stud. And then here the carousel starts to turn again, and us as CU Bus fans, we win the lottery again when Javon Antonio, who's somebody that we knew was going to show up in a game. I mean, big frame, pro wide receiver build. And at some point, he was going to show up. But in this game, in this last game against ASU in the second half, he showed up with a game-high 87 yards and really cemented himself at Colorado as one of our top wide receivers as well. So as you can see, every week, someone's popping up there. When you're talking about overall stats, obviously Xavier Weaver with over 500 yards is our number one receiver, followed by Jimmy and Mikey and Travis and Omarion Miller. So those are our list of top wide receivers for Colorado right now. But in any one week, it can change, and we can add another one to the quiver. So who's that going to be? If you look at our wide receiver list, we have a lot of wide receivers that are top talent that could get some reps. So let's see who that is. And we have Stanford coming up, which is a great game for one of our other wide receivers in the reserve ranks to be able to come up and show that they can do this before Travis comes back after the break. Is it going to be Tavares Dawson, who's shown us that he can run the ball super fast? He's got good hands. Is it going to be Jalen Ellis, 6'3"? I mean, this guy's also got a pro build. And along with Javon Antonio, we could create a receiving crew that's almost untouchable by most defensive backs. Caleb Mathis and Isaiah Harge. These guys they show up in practice. They really do. I mean, Caleb is magic in practice during the summer. And I feel like he is on a breakout moment somewhere. We're going to see him come out and really show up in a game. Adam Hopkins and Willie Gaines. Adam Hopkins is showing a little two-way action there, being also at cornerback. Then you have Willie Gaines coming over to Colorado as well. Another guy that we had really high hopes for that we haven't seen a lot of. He is one of these players that he could come into a game and turn it right side up for us. I have a feeling that he's going to show up this year in one of these games. And then don't forget about Shernay Estes and Cole Boskia, because these guys, even though you haven't seen a lot of them, they played well in practice. And Cole being 6'3", another one of those really tall wide receivers that could be added to that group, showed good hands in practice and may show up in one of these games. So as you can see, that's not even all of our wide receivers, folks. I didn't even name all of them. These are just the folks that you've seen in practice, have a lot of talk around them. And one of these guys, or maybe two of these guys, might show up in the Stanford game and really show us the true depth of our quiver at wide receiver. Now, going forward past that, keep in mind we get Travis back, and it's going to be really hard for these guys to penetrate after that unless there are some injuries. You're going to have Travis, Xavier Weaver, Javon Antonio, Jimmy Horn, and Omarion Miller all in that stable right there. And those are going to probably be our core wide receivers going into the harder games at the end of the season. So this game against Stanford may be a big game for one of these other wide receivers. Put down in the comments who you think might show up in this game. Continue that wide receiver lottery that we have going on. And then lastly, a little bit of fun here. Those unis at the ASU game. I've seen comments where people didn't care for them too much, but overall, I think everyone was blown away by the steps that we are taking at the University of Colorado to really show off our brand. And why not? Because you have the likes of Oregon, who's been doing it for years. And Oregon doesn't have half the personality that we do in our organization right now. So why not pull these unis out and really kind of show what we have? And those gold face masks, I even on my live yesterday went through and tried to find those gold ones, and I found the gold face mask. So I'm actually going to create a replica of that helmet and put it here in the garage, which is going to be a lot of fun. But going a little bit further than that, Coach Prime had the gold headset on too to match. So we are showing a lot of flavor out there, and it's really, to me, it's really exciting to see this. It takes it one step above football and makes it just pure fun. You never know what's going to happen with University of Colorado at these football games, and now we're adding the uniforms to the mix, makes it all that much more fun. Now, going back home, if we could keep that gold face mask and maybe even that black gloss helmet and put it with the black unis, black and black, so black, but put the gold numbers on the black like we did with the gold numbers on the white at the TCU game. Holy mackerel, would that not set it off? And then let's take it a step further. What about the all whites? What if you did the all whites with the gold number like we did at TCU, but throw in the gold face mask with it and maybe black visors during a day game. I mean, guys, this could be really, really huge. Just takes it to another level. Uniforms may not be exciting to some people, but I just absolutely love them. And I think the core bit of our fans love them too. Just to set off our personality a little bit and take Colorado even one step higher than it already is with all the extra media and the celebrities coming out. And don't forget that we are a winning team. We're 4-2. Everything is working for us this year, and now we're adding the uniforms to it. Couldn't be even hotter. Please let me know down in the description what you think of those uniform options. Whew, that was a full day of news here, guys. I hope you enjoy your Sunday and your NFL football, and thank you very much for making Alpine Garage Sports part of your daily clicks. Throw your comments down below. I'll respond to every single comment. We will see you in the next video, and if you haven't already heard, we are 4-2. We have new unis, and Shedeur Sanders just hit 2,000 yards passing.